Oh, good evening. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, yeah.
And
best wishes to everyone.
Welcome to the first transmission of 2015
Yep.
from the Dr. Rhythm channel, featuring Mark.
And John.
So, first up, my most recent purchase, we listened to Dennis Wilson, one of the Beach Boys, his only solo album, Pacific Ocean Blue. This is a reissue on 180 gram vinyl, beautiful, very nicely mastered. I don't really know this album, but I think Big Star 1000 has been a big supporter of this record. So we listened to. What did we listen to?
A song.
A song
called Dennis Wilson, very much in the same look as if people who've seen Two-Lane Blacktop will recognise that Dennis Wilson look.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a bit of the Gene Clark No Other album, and also Jonathan Wilson. We listened to the track called Dreamer, that had a very strange kind of cross between a harmonica and a didgeridoo.
Yeah, very good sound.
Yeah, and some kind of wild horns happening. Great album.
Thinking of the kind of slightly weird, out of sync kind of country, I then pulled out Gene Parsons from his record Kindling, and we listened to a track called Sonic Bummer.
Did we?
Yeah, we did indeed. Which has all kind of, it has Andy Newmark on drums and Clarence White on it. Gene Parsons was of course a drummer in the kind of last edition of the Byrds, with Skip Battin and Clarence White and so forth. Very nice record actually. I mean, a lot of it's kind of almost traditional kind of bluegrass, but there's some weird kind of twists here and there. There's some synths and stuff on it. Good record.
Talking of the Byrds, John, what are we listening to?
We're listening to Chris Watson, who has recently had who's on Touch Records, and we're listening to In St Cuthbert's Time, which is Chris's latest release on Touch, and it was all recorded in Lincolnshire, and it's a very beautiful record. And I think it's coming out on vinyl very soon actually as well.
And I've recently been working with Chris.
Yeah.
And he's a very nice character.
Yeah. Very beautiful leaflet inside. It's obviously largely talking about, it's based on the Lindisfarne Gospels, and all field recordings and recordings inside the church. Yeah, typical Chris really. He has a very advanced technique where he mostly uses a coat hanger with two microphones stuck on it. As I'm sure he told you when you...
He didn't mention
that. Oh, he didn't?
Okay. Next up, in our rather kind of... we normally start off with some soul and funk, but we kind of went a completely different direction this session. And we then went into Andy Irvine and Paul Brady. Beautiful album, which came recommended from Mr. Ben Costello. Thank you very much, Ben. Very glad to know about this. And we listened to the track called Arthur McBride and the Sergeant. Some very lovely guitar playing, vocals, and just a very strong political tune about people not being very happily recruited to the First World War.
Which is of course very timely.
Very timely.
I think partly because of the sound of the guitar playing and other stuff, and maybe also thinking back to the track before, then pulled out an Arlo Guthrie record, which I think it's the first time we've ever played him at this session. From the album Last of the Brooklyn Cowboys, played their version of his version of the Bob Dylan song Gates of Eden, which has some great bottleneck guitar from Ry Cooder, and some great guitar playing by Clarence White.
And some amazing musicians.
Yeah, the whole record's got just an amazing lineup of incredible musicians on it. Yeah, I've been getting into Arlo Guthrie recently, I don't know why, just suddenly started to listen to him again.
And also featuring Jim Keltner on drums.
Yeah, not on that track, but he's
not
on the
that
album.
track. Who also I don't think was on this track that I've played next. But he did
so
play
it's a non-connection.
It's a non-connection, but there's a very tenuous connection. This is Shaved Fish. This is an album that I have just rescued from my mother's basement. And I was reminiscing with John how in the evening when we were sitting around having our tea, I'd often play the track Cold Turkey, which seems very seasonal in one respect, but in many respects is very inappropriate. And I was reminded just how kind of strange that track is. A very vicious guitar riff from Eric Clapton, and a lot of screaming from John Lennon at the end as he experiences Cold Turkey. Great track though.
Yeah, really good track. I think the screaming probably made me pull out a classic. Not much you can say about this really. Captain Beefheart's Troutmark replica played the track The Blimp, which has a lot of kind of screaming.
Very strange sounds.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, this record. I mean, just the sonics of it, never mind the kind of the music, and it's extraordinary production by Frank Zappa. And this is my original copy I bought when I was at school.
Which is probably worth a bit of money.
Probably worth a bit of money indeed, yeah.
Thinking of very original productions led me on to another Christmas gift, which is Robert Wyatt's Rock Bottom. Fantastic album, going through a real Robert Wyatt phase at the moment, and have just also been given his biography, authorised biography, which is fantastic. And we listened to the track Little Red Riding Hood, Hit the Road, which features Mongezi Phaser, multi-tracked trumpet.
Lots of Mongezis.
I mean, just a really... This was the first solo album?
No, it was second solo album.
End of an Ear.
End of an Ear was the first one,
That's
yeah.
right. But yeah, produced by Nick Mason, in fact, this album, I believe. Yeah, fantastic. If you don't know this album, you really need to pick it up. Extremely groundbreaking and still does not sound like anything else.
Yeah, I think it's still my favourite Robert Wyatt album, actually. Stayed with Robert Wyatt and played a track off The Hapless Child, which was a Mike Mantha record on What, which was the label he set up with Carla Bley. And played, this album is based on the children's stories of Edward Gorey, who is an amazing writer and very funny but sinister kind of children's stories, and played the track called The Hapless Child. This has an amazing lineup of people on it, as well as Robert Wyatt and Carla Bley. It has Steve Swallow, Jack DeJohnette and Terry Ripdale on it. I think I might have played a track on a previous session from this, actually, but I like this record very much.
My tenuous connection was Terry Ripdale, did a lot of recording on the ECM label, and then I decided to play Eberhard Weber's Colours album, and we listened to the track called Silent Feet, which sounded great,
Really good.
and also had a sort of end section which suddenly really reminded me of a bit of Aja off Steely Dan.
Very good. Saw that band live a few times as well. They were really good. I think it was that track that because that track went through several different kind of phases. I pulled out Lewis Taylor, who we've gone on about quite a lot in our sessions.
Big
actually.
fans.
But this is from a 12-inch single which came out around the time of his first record, and I played the track called "You Got Me Thinking All About It." Lewis is kind of extraordinary. Actually, if you don't know him, you can pick up his records for virtually nothing.
And pick up every record, because every 12-inch has on the B-side tracks that don't appear anywhere else.
Definitely.
This was a Christmas gift to myself, which is an absolutely fantastic Herbie Hancock album called Flood, with the original Obi strip in there, mailed from Japan, double live album. We listened to Butterfly, I think probably my favourite version of Butterfly. Really fantastic, sounded amazing.
No real connection to my next track actually, except for the fact that they're both live, which is.
There you go.
But I played. This has just been reissued actually. This is the original version on. I think it's in the next batch of 75th anniversary Blue Note reissues. It's a Joe Henderson State of the Tenor live at the Village Vanguard Volume 1 with Ron Carter and Al Foster, and played a track called Loose Change, which is written by Ron Carter and features him rather heavily.
Very heavily.
Yeah.
Sort of providing the chordal backing.
Yeah, which Mark noticed sounds a bit like Status Quo at one point, actually, which it does. Actually.
Yeah, well, this was another session first. We never played Duke Ellington. I don't know why not.
I don't know why not at all.
But this is a album called